Hi, everybody. Lee Scott here. Thank you for watching and or listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee, where we're talking about life, leadership, and legacy. I want to help you unleash your capacity and level of leadership. Y'all, I am so excited to be back because this is season 6 of Leading with Lee. Isn't it such a shocker to you, and probably even a bigger shocker to me, that I am back talking about life, leadership, and legacy? So I want to just share some things with you before I get into what I want to share today about how this season is going to go. Obviously, as I stated just a moment ago, this is my 6th season, but I am not doing as many episodes that I usually do in the past. And so in the past, you've noticed that I would do 2 episodes a month. It would be a bi-weekly podcast. But this year, I'm going to do 1 episode a month. It'll be every first Tuesday. Now, obviously, this episode is coming out a week late, but starting in March, it'll be every first Tuesday that I will be releasing an episode of Leading with Lee, where I'm going to be sharing about something that's on my mind, but also I'm going to have some guests that are going to come on this season, and I'm so excited to bring those individuals on, and hopefully you'll be inspired over these 11 or so episodes of Leading with Lee. I might throw some bonus stuff in there from time to time, but for the most part, we're going to do once a month here on Leading, and I hope that you'll be inspired by that. But before I get too far into what I want to share with you today, I think it's really important that I just share a few things here at the outset about what's going on in my life. Since the last time I was on here talking to you, I was debating whether or not I wanted to come back for another season of Leading, and a lot has happened since that episode that I released in December, where I was recapping what was going on in my world and recapping what had happened last year. It was a big year for us on Leading last year. We had some great guests that ranged from different spaces and different environments, but also I shared a lot about why it took courage, or why we had to understand what humility was and what we needed to do in listening to people and engaging in conversation. And so it really was inspiring for me to talk about those things and engage in a particular way related to life, leadership, legacy. But today, I have some stuff to share that I think will be really inspiring for you. But I've been thinking a great deal, though, because you may or may not know this, but right now, as I am speaking, I'm literally running for city council here in my hometown of Jackson, Mississippi. And I know that this is a leadership podcast, and I talk about life, leadership, and legacy on here. But in me running, it made me think about some things that I think is really important, because some of you may be wondering, okay, Lee, well, you've been talking about leadership for the last 5 or 6 years. What drove you to this moment? What actually made you answer the call of public service, or say, hey, let me step up to the plate and make my contribution to my community? As many of you know, I'm a native Jacksonian. I was born and raised here in Jackson, Mississippi. My family has lived on the South Side all for the vast majority of my life. We actually have lived in the Oak Forest neighborhood. That community has meant a great deal to me and has been a big part of my life. We still live in the Oak Forest community, and so it's really, really interesting that at this moment, where our city is currently in a transitional moment, that we are literally having elections. This is why I put my hat in the race to run for city council in the area that I grew up in. And so one of the things that really struck me was I'm realizing that in this conversation I've been having over the past 5 years of sharing about life, leadership, and legacy, it is very apparent to me that our communities are looking for what? Leadership. One of the things that I kept hearing as I've been out talking to people or engaging with other folks who are in different spaces, they keep saying the same thing to me, that people in this community, people in our city, are looking for leadership. And every episode of Leading with Lee that I am sharing, I always give my definition of leadership, because I believe that it's really important to be a good frame for how we think about the topic, but also just a reminder for you to know that you and I have responsibility to operate in leadership. And so here's my leadership definition that I give on here all the time. I believe that leadership is seeing something or vision that hasn't happened and taking people, organizations, and personal processes in that direction. Leadership is seeing something that has not happened yet and taking people, organizations, and personal processes in that direction. I always mention here from time to time that John Maxwell's definition is very simple of leadership. He says that leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. And I think it's really important to talk about this because as I'm running for city council right now, one of the things that I'm seeing, as I just mentioned, in conversations and engagement with different people, I'm finding that a lot of people are wondering what direction they need to go in. In my definition, I'm very clear that in order for you to change direction, you have to be able to see something different. And people are looking for individuals who will take them to another place or push them into another realm of thinking, whether it be in their connections, whether it be in a relationship, whatever it is, they're looking for an answer to a problem. And that's something that's happening right now in our world and happening in our environment. People are looking for answers in every community, industry, or place in the world. This is exactly what people are looking for. So what does this mean for us? I got 3 points today to kind of give us some insight or give some perspective about this thought. And my 3 points are this: there must be a void. And this makes people look for the answer. Secondly, whatever fills the void could take things in different directions. And lastly, courage will be met with criticism. Courage will be met with criticism. So let's talk about the first one. There must be a void. And this makes people look for answers. There's an old adage, there's a Hebrew proverb that says, without vision, the people perish. And we can look in our world. You don't have to look very far to see that people are looking for vision. They're looking for someone to be the answer to a problem. They're looking for someone to figure out, hey, I can take us somewhere. They're looking for someone to answer the call and say, hey, I can step up to the plate and do something. And a lot of times that is very complicated because when we have voids, it creates vacuums. People start to spiral. Things start to happen that we are not expecting to happen, right? Things that we are wanting to see move positively to obviously just go in either direction. It's just like when we see a natural disaster, whether it be a hurricane or whether it be wildfires, like we have seen in our country over the last few weeks, whether it has been tornadoes or anything like that. When those destructive things come into place, they leave a mess afterwards. And it creates a situation where people have to respond to that thing with some level of understanding of how to fix the problem. Generally, when we see these disasters happening, it levels things. It knocks down buildings. It causes people to have to migrate. It causes people to have to shift. It causes some people to have to go to a different part of their city or leave their city or leave their community that they have been in for a while. And it can be devastating for an individual. And that void has a way of gripping people and causing them to live in hopelessness. One of the things that I think is really important is that we have to identify how can we find the right answer. When natural disasters happen, people are expecting their folks that represent them, elected leaders, their community leaders, their individuals that are in their space to do something to indicate that, hey, everything's going to be okay. And right now in my community, we are looking for somebody to fill a void. We're looking for the answer. We're trying to figure out how can we improve our quality of life? How can we bring grocery stores back in our community? How can we do some other things that actually benefits us? What can we do? What can we engage in to actually make our lives better? And people are wondering, where is the answer. And I think that answer could look very different for different individuals. For some people, it is going to be in their faith. For some people, it's going to be in their clubs and organizations they're involved in. Some of it's going to be in their family and folks and friends that are involved in their lives. That's where they're going to find solace. But all of us are looking to fill a hole in our lives, fill that void. We're trying to figure out how can we clarify vision. I say my definition all the time. Leadership is seeing something, right? Leadership is literally having vision, meaning you have something that fills the void. You have something that gives clear direction about where we're going. And people are looking for, hey, are you going to put us in a position that benefits us ultimately? I think it's really important to note because right now, people are looking for that. They're trying to figure out what do they need to do. Sometimes people are not able to save themselves from a situation. They're not able to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, as the old adage goes here in America. They're not able to do that because they can't see any other way. Or they, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, they may not even have boots. I'm paraphrasing something that he said, but it's really important to keep this in mind. There is a level of hopelessness that people are experiencing. They're trying to figure out, how can I move forward in my life? How can I make a better decision? How can I navigate the realities of everyday life? And they're looking for somebody to step in and say, hey, I'll be an answer to that problem. I'll be a solution to the problem, which leads me to my next point. Whatever fills the void could take things in several directions. This is really important because we see it in every sector, whether it's hiring a coach or CEO or leader. It literally can change an organization's dynamic because of who is at the helm of that organization. One of the things that is really true is that organizations take on the personality of the leader. See it you may not be deep about it. You can see that in your own family. The reason why you do the things that you do may not necessarily be because you chose to do it. It may be because your mother or your father are a particular way. And so that creates the dynamic in which your family operates. At your respective job, whoever your manager is, if your manager is a super extroverted person, they may bring that type of energy into how you operate at work. If your manager is a more thoughtful, more easygoing, kind of quiet soul, that's going to reflect in how you do your work. That's going to reflect in their leadership. That's going to reflect in how they engage in conversations with you, right? These are things that are true about leaders. And so it can't be lost on us that this is a reality in our space. There's a particular individual, Bob Iger, who is currently the CEO of Disney. During Iger's first stint at Disney, when he became the CEO back in 2005, he was really huge in expanding the intellectual property of the company. During his tenure, his first stint at the company, he bought companies like Marvel Studios and Pixar, and he grew actually the number of theme parks within the company around the world. He started to go into Southeast Asia with more theme parks, and he actually was one of driving pushes behind the Disney Plus streaming app, and he's also very instrumental in the acquisition of Hulu. And so back in 2020, initially Iger retired. He became the executive chairman of the board for Disney, and then he was replaced by one of their executives named Bob Chapek. I think I'm saying his last name wrong. Or I'm sorry, I think I'm saying his last name. I think it's Chapek. But this gentleman takes over for Bob Iger, and it didn't go so well. He had a different philosophy, had a different way of doing things that Iger did not have. And Iger, having just so happened to be the chair, as again, the executive chairman of the board, there was concerns among board members that this particular individual did not have a vision that was compatible with the DNA of the company. They were concerned that this individual wasn't driven like Iger. He didn't have a visionary thought process of trying to expand or make Disney's influence and footprint bigger in the world. And so, with that being said, this gentleman only was the CEO for like a year and a half. And then Iger went back and became the CEO, and he currently is the CEO now. And I read that he has extended his contract into 2026. But that's because of the very thing I'm talking about. Simply because that gentleman was the leader. Simply because that man was taking on a leadership role within their organization. It changed the very DNA of the organization. It changed the very culture of that organization. Now, you may say, okay, Lee, I'm not a CEO. Lee, I'm not a founder. Lee, I'm not this person. So how is this relevant to me? Well, let's be clear. Whatever space that you're in, you have decisions to make. Either you're going to engage in conversations and in ways that's going to move you forward, or you're going to engage in ways that's going to move you in a different direction. That is a choice. That's not something that someone makes you do. That is literally a choice. And so whatever fills that void is going to be the way you go. It's really important to keep in mind that whatever direction you go in, it impacts where you're going to be in a year, 2 years, 5, 20 years from now. I mean, it literally affects you tomorrow. Like, as I'm speaking right now, you had a decision to make whether or not you're going to watch or listen to this podcast. You don't actually have to do it. It's just that you made a cognitive decision that, hey, I'm going to go listen to Lee talk about life, leadership, and legacy today. I'm going to spend some time engaging the content that he's creating. You might be listening to this just because you may be interested in what my perspective is. You may be listening to this because you're trying to figure out, okay, who is this dude? Right? But no matter what is your reason, it's really important for you to recognize that something's going to influence the direction that you go in. Something's going to have an impact on how you perceive where you're supposed to go and where you're supposed to be. I see it every day in the work that I do with talking to high school students and college students. I see what decisions they make and how it can affect the trajectory of their lives. I have conversations with students literally every single work day. I'm talking to young people about the one of the most significant decisions in their lives, which is going to college. Where you go to college has such a huge impact on your perspective in the world. I truly believe this. Now, maybe everyone may not agree with me, but I truly think, and this is just my opinion, I truly think you make some of the most significant decisions in your life between the age of 17 and 24. Because generally, you pick your career during that time. That's why you're in school. When you're in college, you're setting yourself to go on a career path. Whether it is a certification that you pursue, whether it is a 2-year degree that you pursue, whether you go all the way to getting your doctorate or go to med school or whatever. That decision has significant ramifications on your life. You choose the friends that you might be stuck with, whether you want to them or not, during this time. You choose the organizations that you're willing to commit to, right? You choose the clubs that you're going to be involved in. All these things happen during this particular time in your life. And so it's very important that you recognize the impact of those. Me going to Hines Community College here in my hometown, or excuse me, going to the one in Raymond, Mississippi, but here in the area, had a huge impact on how I think about college. Going to community college, like literally, it has an impact on how I think about college. Me going to college in the Midwest had a huge impact on how I think about life and how I see myself in the world. It is primarily because it was one of the biggest decisions of my life. Had not I gone to school in the Midwest, I might have a different perspective. I might have a different view of the world, right? It's because I have had these experiences. And one of the things that I think is important for you to keep in mind is that whatever you decide to do is going to have an impact on your present and your future. I think the reason why the work I do today is so impactful because I have this unique experience with it. I know how to talk to students who are considering going to community college because I went to one. I know how to talk to students who are going to school out of state because I went to school out of state. I know what it's like debating whether or not you want to go to school in state because prior to that, I was planning on going to Mississippi State and did not understand because there were not a lot of conversations being had with me about the cost of college, all the things that it took to be involved. Like, I didn't understand that, right? And because I was void of information, we had to pivot and make another decision. These are not just trivial things. You have to recognize that in your life. And I know I'm talking about my college experience, but you can apply that to anything in your life. There are things that are happening in your life right now that you're going to have to make a decision about. You're going to have to think about it differently, have to make another step. You're going to have to ask another question. You're going to have to do something that's going to change the course of your life. But it takes you recognizing, hey, there's something that I have to decide. And if I don't make the decision, somebody's going to make the decision for me. And you'd rather make the decision for yourself and feel confident and comfortable with the decisions that you make. I'm going to take a break right here, and we'll be right back after this message. Want to promote your business, products, or services? Email me at scottconsultations@gmail.com. I would love to push forward the banner of what you're trying to accomplish, whether it is a product, whether it's your services or your business. I would love to work with you and be an advocate for what you're doing in your respective spaces. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. And we are back. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you've been inspired during this episode because we've really been talking about this idea of this is the big one. This is a big thing that's happening in your life. This is something that is transpiring in your life. And I hope that you are recognizing that you have a responsibility to step into leadership, to step up and step out and do things that are unprecedented for you. But I want to get to my last point, which is courage will be met with criticism. Now, as I was thinking about this, I had some questions that I was asking myself as I have recently been running for office and been engaged in posting things on social media and posting things on Nextdoor and and different spaces and how people's responses to these things that I'm posting and their questions about what I'm doing and me knocking doors and talking to folks and how that really is. Because yes, it is a huge thing that you stepped up and into a leadership role, but are you ready? And I started asking myself, am I ready for the pressure and responsibility that comes with that? That's a legitimate question. That's a question that I have to ask myself because you may not be dealing with what I'm dealing with, right? But you have to ask yourself, are you willing to deal with the pressure and responsibility of stepping up to the plate and having the courage to do something that's unprecedented for you? in starting that business, are you going to be okay with the criticism or in other words, the pressure and responsibility that comes with doing that work? Are you going to be okay with the pressure and responsibility of leading your family or being involved in your family? Are you going to be okay with the pressure and responsibility of going to college in a time where nobody in your family has ever gone to college? Are you going to be okay with the pressure and the responsibility of starting a new pathway in your family or among your friend group or among the people that are around you? Are you going to be able to withstand their criticism, to withstand their judgment? Here's one thing that's true about all people. We want to be liked. We want to belong. That's what people are seeking out. We see it on social media. Literally, the reason why people are in Facebook groups is because they want to belong to something. The reason people vote for the way they vote is because they want to belong to something. People support or are involved in organizations is because they want to be a part of something. I learn this a lot every day when I'm talking to people, when I'm engaging people at work, or when I'm engaging people out in the community. When I'm doing the things that I'm doing, I'm finding out that people simply want to be dignified and they want to belong. That's just what it is. And so it's difficult for us sometimes to get over ourselves and recognize that, hey, if we don't at least acknowledge that people are trying to find themselves, we will sit up here and just think, well, they're just out here doing whatever. No. They're trying to find where they belong. But I want to identify 3 kinds of people that you're going to have to always deal with. And in this idea of criticism, you got to be willing to navigate 3 types of people. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 types of people. The first are those who are true believers. I'm going to call them true believers. In other words, in their eyes, their preferred leader can do no wrong. The person that they support, whether it be their boss, whether it be somebody, an influence or a singer or somebody that's famous, whether it be a family member, it doesn't matter who it is. This individual can never do any wrong in their eyes. Someone has been in situations where, and some people in your life, for you, they can do no wrong. But some you have all the fire for. There's some people you have all the gas for them. You will light them up if they did what this individual did. But not all the smoke for this person. All the smoke. But this one right here, they can do no wrong. Because that is driven by a preference. That's driven by a personal desire to want to be connected to that individual. This person can never do wrong in your eyes. Okay? Then the second type of people, I like to call them the cautious skeptics. These are people who are not sure if they can trust you until you give them a reason to. It's not that they can't be persuaded. It's not that they can't be influenced to do something different. It's just that right now, you haven't proven to them that you're worth taking a shot on. Now, some people may hear this and say, well, I don't particularly like this group of people because I don't want to have to do any work. Let me tell you something. If you want to be a productive leader, you got to be willing to do the work of influencing these people. Maxwell said leadership is influence. They actually might not be against you. They just need a reason to support you. They just need a reason to engage with you. I'm learning this right now. I have to live with the fact that there are going to be people who are going to say to me as I'm out knocking doors or engaging in things on this campaign or at events or whatever. There are going to be people that are going to say, Lee, why are you doing this? I'm supporting this person or this person. Why should I consider you? You haven't given me any evidence. And if you give me evidence, I'm not sure if I can trust what you're giving me. And people are going to do that. There are going to be people that are simply just skeptical, but it doesn't mean they don't want to give you a try. Are you willing? Do you have the courage to try to convince them or persuade them to change their mind? It's possible. See, and I'm getting something here in a moment, but that is something that's really important. Persuasion is a powerful thing. Now, you know, I'm gonna move on and go back to this, but persuasion is powerful because when someone gets something fixed in their mind, it's sometimes hard to change their mind about something. It really is. Because that brings me to my last point. There are some people that are clearly adversaries, i.e. haters. There are going to be some people, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you act, no, it doesn't even matter. They are just simply against you. It's nothing that you did to them personally. It's nothing that you said to them personally. It's just that they have in their mind, I cannot support you. I cannot agree with you. I cannot bring myself to engaging with you in conversation because simply we don't have the same values. So why would I even talk to you? Why would I give you the time of day? Why would I even allow myself the opportunity to get to know you? And there are individuals that are like that. There are going to be some people. I'm saying this now because I want to be able to look back and not be disappointed when it happens. But there are going to be some people who simply, for no reason, I will not be able to convince them otherwise to do something different. If given the opportunity to represent the people in this community, they will go out of their way to find things. Go out of their way to try to expose or come up with some concept about me or whatever they think they might know. Right? But I have to be aware that, hey, at least they're clear about the fact that they're adversaries. Listen, it may not even be individuals, but there are situations that seems like an obstacle for you. That seems like things that are trying to stop you from moving forward in your life. They are clear adversaries. They are clearly situations that are in your life that are simply trying to stop you from moving forward. And you got to figure out, how do I have the courage to overcome them? How do I do it? How do I circumvent? How do I get around the things that are trying to stop me from moving forward? Because it absolutely matters. And I think right now, in this moment where we are dealing with so much transition in our culture and our society, we got to be willing to have conversations about, hey, will I be courageous in the midst of these realities? Will I recognize that there are going to be some people that just support me because it's just something about my vibe, right? It may not even be anything. They just like you. There are going to be some people that simply don't like me at all. And there are going to be some people that just need a little bit more time to be convinced. Or, as I said in my second point, to go either way. They need more evidence to either become a hater or a true believer. It may just be there for them. They're trying to figure out if they're going to be a hater or an adversary or they're going to be a true believer. And you got to be willing to do the work of enduring what that is. Listen, I'm only got 11 episodes this season. Okay. Only got a few episodes. But I hope that every time you come back and hear me talk on here on Leading, you be inspired to lead from where you are and be able to do the work of transforming the world around you. I'm glad to be back. Much love. And I'll see you next time here on Leading with Lee.